Good afternoon, everyone. We're here in Miami's Community Newspapers. I'm proud to be here with the publisher, Mr. Michael Miller.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And our great guest,
Thank you, sir.
Anthony Valenzuela.
Thank you.
A gentleman who I want you to introduce yourself, but
Sure.
I want you to talk about your past immediate position and what you're doing and where you're going in the future. This is going to be a good conversation, don't you think?
Yes. By the way, how old are you?
I am 20. Just
20.
turned 20 this year. Yes, sir.
All
drink?
at 20 years old. All right. Do you remember Hurricane Andrew?
No, I don't.
Yeah, okay.
I
What year
heard
were you born?
stories.
What year were you born?
2001.
How could he remember?
No. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
just
hear
stories.
it. And wait, let's get this on. You want to share that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
Absolutely.
So I'll go ahead. So my name's Anthony
Well,
Valenzuela.
hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I know we're going right here. You want to
Yeah,
share?
sure.
On you.
Yeah, let's do
And
it.
in the meanwhile, we met Anthony about a year ago.
Yeah.
And he came in and I said, this guy's got it, man. This guy is good. All right. You started telling me about some of the things that you were doing then. And we're really excited to hear about your recent past and
right.
your journey forward. And you're the real deal in setting us being an example for so many people.
I appreciate it.
All right.
I appreciate being here. It's always good to talk to you guys and learn some more. So my name's Anthony Valenzuela. I was the SGA president this past year at Miami-Dade College. And let me tell you, it was a ride. It was a ride. It was a year like none other because when I was president, it was all through COVID, 100% of it. So everything you can imagine is different. I didn't have anything to go based off of. It was brand new to me. But I knew I wanted to do something special there because the students are special. And I really believe in Miami-Dade College. And they gave me the opportunity to be where I am today. I mean, you look at me a year ago today before I was president to where I am now, it's completely different. You know, I opened up my mind, my leadership skills, my communication skills are so much better. So it was a great ride. I really enjoyed every second of being president of the Student Government Association at Kendall campus. And now, it's a little weird because I had all these meetings, and then now I'm not president. Now I'm like, okay, where are my meetings at? What do I do? But right now I'm a real estate agent. I've been a real estate agent. So now I'm practicing a little bit more with the family business. And I'm enjoying what I do. And I'm going to intern at a lobbying firm on Monday, actually, at Marin & Sons with Steve Marin. So I'm looking forward to that.
He's not starting out with anybody Mickey Mouse, right? He just goes right to the top.
All right. So here you are with no book to follow. All right.
Right.
About here's what you do during COVID.
Right.
So how did your expectation change, and how did you, because before you went in, and how did you emotionally deal with that thought that you were going to have these rallies and whatever it would be? So how did you deal with that?
Look, at that point, I either had two options. Either we sink or we float. Either we make it or we don't. We could have not done anything, and it would have been the perfect excuse. Oh, COVID, right? And many organizations did that. But I wanted to do something special. I wanted to do something with what I had. So yes, all the rallies and the in-person events. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do any of that. But nonetheless, we were able to reach out to the community of mass distributions, food distributions, spread words. Have town halls with campus presidents, Pumariega, and all these things. So we still did what we had to do in a different venue in a remote setting, but we still did it. And it was hard emotionally. A lot of our senators, a lot of our members in student government did suffer. Mentally, I suffered mentally as well. Physically, it was different, but we had to adapt. It was the only option for me, just adapt.
So how many students in Miami-Dade did you represent?
And at the Kendall campus, over 15,000.
Yeah. How did you become student government president?
Yeah, so it was an interesting way of campaigning because when we started campaigning, it was right in the beginning of COVID. So usually campaigning, you're in person, you hand out flyers, there's posters on the walls in the hallways, but now I had to do it all virtually. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. So I just overloaded the social media.
Something you're not real good at, are you? Talk to us about the show, too.
So the Mindset Podcast. So the Mindset Podcast is super exciting. I've had you as a guest on the Mindset Podcast. Michael, I need to have you on the podcast as well. So the podcast, I'm a co-host with my good friend Gabriel Russo. We're both business majors going to FIU probably. And the Mindset Podcast is really outstanding. We have local leaders, Dr. Padron. We've had you, of course, and other presidents, campus presidents, Dr. Charlot on our podcast. And we talk about the mindset. What is the mindset that young people need to have, or all people need to have, right? Because the mindset, in my opinion, of young folks my age, 20-year-olds, is let's party now, let's enjoy life, let's have a good time, and we'll worry about life later. We'll worry about the jobs later. That's the wrong mindset to have. In reality, we have to be doing it backwards. Right now is the time where we can fail the most, right? We're living with our parents. We don't have that family obligation just yet for most of us. So we have the opportunity to fail now and recuperate a lot faster than, say, 30, 40 years old. So I'm trying to change the conversation within young folks in the country.
Wow.
So, so here you are now. You've finished Miami-Dade. You're going to go to FIU, maybe?
Maybe.
Is that a maybe yes or maybe maybe?
It's looking real good. I really like that FIU has a specialty in real estate, which is what I'm interested in. So it's looking like FIU.
And your family's been in real estate for quite some time.
Yeah, my dad's been a real estate agent for over 16 years now. He's been a broker for about 5 years, and we've had the Valenzuela Group, our brokerage, for about 3 years now.
Is that the name of the realty?
The Valenzuela Real Estate Group, yes, sir.
Good plug, right?
Yes, sir. Check him out. Check him
out.
out. The Valenzuela Group on Instagram. We're very active on Instagram, posting 3 times a day, like just crazy stuff.
Is that you?
No, that's my mom. I give my credit to my mom. She's great at that. But yes.
So what about your podcasts? What's your plan?
So the plan with the podcast is really to grow it as much as we can. We recently launched merch, which I know, Robert, you're looking into it. So we say that it's more than just a podcast, Michael. It's a movement. A podcast is something that you can enjoy, but our podcast goes a little further than that. It's not only something that you can enjoy, but we give a call to action towards the end of it. Now what? With the information we gave you, now what? And it's not just Gabe and I giving information. We're only 20, 21 years old. We only know so much. So that's why we bring in experts in the field, Dr. Padrones of the world, to talk to us about their experience, because experience is what matters here.
So one of the things we recognize, each of those things in this podcast, that is a method to distribute your content.
Absolutely.
That's not it. That is just that tool to be able to do it. What other tools are you going to use to share your wisdom?
So we're looking at the podcast is really great because we're on Spotify and all these other platforms, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, but we're also very big on Instagram. Instagram Lives work really well. I know you've been on Instagram Lives a few times and they work really well. We're also looking at Clubhouse. I don't know if you all know about Clubhouse, Robert?
Yes.
Yeah, Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an up-and-coming platform that works similarly to a podcast because there's no video portion to it. It's all audio, but it's very hot right now. So Gabe and I, we've been jumping on that, going live every now and then, and we've gotten a good amount of people in our rooms.
When you think, Robert, about all these changes that are occurring at such warp speed, right? I mean, every 3 months, there's another thing. So you could have taken, if you go back 10 years, you could have taken the prior 20 years, right? And say all the changes that happened in that 20 years probably happened in about 4 or 5 on this end.
Certainly.
And we look at the acceleration of communication since February last year and see all these changes that are made. So people make money by being disruptors and figuring out how to communicate. So what business are you going to interrupt?
Man, I hope the real estate industry. That's my passion. Since, like I mentioned, my dad's been in real estate for as long as I can remember. So for the early part of my childhood, I would go to showings with him and go get listings with him and hear the lingo, the vocab.
Were you like 3 or 4 years old?
I was like 5 years old.
See, there you
I was
go.
a 5-year-old learning about real estate, and I actually enjoy it. The money is great, but I actually enjoy, finding people, especially first homeowners, a house. The smile that puts on their faces. It's really an incredible experience.
Dream, right?
The American dream, and what better place to do that than Miami?
So what would you do different? If you're going to be a disruptor, what would you do different?
Man, I think first and foremost, I would, be very active on social media. I think one of the biggest mistakes realtors have right now, and I've noticed a lot of them are on the older side of it. They're 40-year-old, 50-year-old realtors.
Old people.
Old. Just call those olders, but still young, very young.
Can't clean that one up, buddy.
I think there's not a lot of young people. And by the way, I'm getting my broker's license this summer. So I don't really know too many brokers that are 20 years old. So I'm starting early. That's where
We're looking at a future billionaire.
Yes.
Right?
He sounds like Grant Cardone, by the way.
Doesn't he?
Yeah. Grant Cardone says, when people start complaining they see you too much on social media, keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Keep going.
Over and over. So you were very young. What's the youngest you remember going with your dad?
Ooh.
For real?
For real, 7 years old.
When did you say, this is really cool, I think I want to do that?
I would say about 12, when I had a better understanding of what's going on. Because I was too little back, 7 years old.
When did you express that? When did you say it to somebody?
Oh man, I would say, and I got a lot of dirty looks, like, are you crazy? And that was because I was in 8th grade. I remember telling my friends, like, it was that age where we were talking about what high school we're going to, what's our career, what we're going to do, and I would always say real estate. And I mean, nobody.
How old is 8th grade?
eighth grade is like what, 14, 13,
Okay, all right.
14, 13,
Maybe a little younger.
maybe a little younger,
Yeah.
12, yeah, maybe around there.
Okay.
But I knew early on that this is my passion. So of course I enjoy the real estate agent part of it. They're showing the homes and all that. But in reality, what I really want to do long term is be a real estate developer that specifies in affordable housing. That's something that I'm passionate about. That's an issue here in Miami, affordable housing.
When did you recognize that?
Recently, I would say about a
Okay.
year ago.
You know, that's interesting because, you know, the real estate market is no secret. It's a buyer's market.
Mhm.
You have a lot of people coming from up north, buying
Yeah.
houses, driving up the market. But at the end of the day, realtors are doing exceptionally well on the housing side, right?
Right.
So you have a lot of people. The Alice report for 2020 came out,
Mm.
pointing to 54% of the households in Dade County are one paycheck away from economic disaster. A big economic hardship is their housing. So you have a lot of companies, a lot of individuals dedicating themselves and their businesses to affordable housing, answering this question. But how do we achieve that? Any thoughts?
I haven't thought about it thoroughly yet, but I do know that Miami's going to keep expanding especially with the tech that's coming down to here to Miami. Miami's just going to keep growing. I mean, look at what happened in Wynwood, right?
Yeah.
Wynwood is now you can't really afford to live there if you just have a minimum wage now. So the gentrification is insane, and is I think moving faster than a lot of us would have thought. But who's going to work at the hotels? Who's the restaurant industry, the hotel industry? Like we need to help.
Who can afford to work? at
Who
those
can
jobs?
afford? Yeah. So we need to do something, and I don't have the secret formula yet. I hope to get it soon, but we need to do something to bring in people that aren't making millions of dollars here in Miami.
You know,
Well,
and prior to COVID, the people, the employers in the Keys would have to bring people in.
They still do.
Yep. For,
In bus
20,
loads.
30 miles, all right, more farther.
Yeah.
And the employers would also say, here, I own this building, you can sleep there, you can sleep there. So that seems to be something that perhaps is in the works here about how are we going to get all these people back to work. And with all the new people that are coming here, it's going to require more services to be provided,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, since we're talking about
Yeah.
transportation, the county is moving forward with their bus rail transit. Is that what it's called? The BRT down south. And the county has recently been promoting on land that is in the county on the west side of US 1 to be able to change that zoning there to allow for a lot of height and changing the parking requirements to force, if you will, people to take public transportation. So that might help in moving people, all right, to keep their costs under control, all right, because that's how they can afford to live. And I see a lot of that. I can't even look anymore at what vehicles cost because it's just so much, right? And we do have a problem here, especially the next couple of months, about who's going to work at the restaurants.
Right.
And part of that, you could say it's pandemic. The other part is, people are still getting unemployment through September.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be a struggle for us in the business world about how to find people. So, and you'd mentioned, okay, you want to get into in real estate, bigger picture stuff.
Yeah.
All right. There are graduate degrees you can get in that arena that you spoke
right.
about.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yep.
And there are some very successful builders. Related is one of them who happens to be putting up a pretty big building across the street from us. It's going to be, when it's done, like 500, 600, 700 people, apartments. All right. We're really looking for it. New towers, 6 to 8 stories, just less than 700 feet from here. Yes, I knew if we waited long enough that it would happen. But the housing is a huge issue for everybody, especially people that are working for a living. So if there's a magic button you could push, what would it be?
For affordable housing?
Yes.
I would say if I had a magic wand for affordable housing, I would say, because if you look at the affordable housing places we have now, they're not too great. They're not too great. They might not be in safe neighborhoods. It's kind of run down. If I had a magic wand, I would give the people, because if you think about who lives in affordable housing, they're hardworking people. They're people, most likely immigrants who came to the United States to work and to get the American dream. So they deserve a decent place to stay where their kids can run outside and play together. So if I had a magic wand, I would build a nice, units, a couple units, not too far away, maybe somewhere in the city, so they don't have to the transportation doesn't have to be a problem, and that's nice. They're proud to live there, because I've talked to a few folks that are in Section 8 and that live in affordable housing, and it's in bad neighborhoods and really run down neighborhoods, and they don't deserve that kind of quality of life.
Well, let me ask you a question. You're 20, your peers are graduating from school, they're
Yeah.
going on to
Mhm.
adult life.
Yeah.
What's the prospect of housing and staying in South Florida for them,
You know, a lot of them,
or jobs?
absolutely, a lot of them of my colleagues, classmates are now thinking of staying locally instead of going out. Why? Because of the tech boom, the tech talk that's happening. They see more jobs coming here. So and they're reaching, and jobs are reaching out to these college students now a lot more than say 5 years ago. So it's working. What Mayor Suarez is doing is definitely working, because a lot of folks are deciding to stay down here instead of going elsewhere. I'm one of them.
Okay. And is it because the prospect of an industry is developing, and the job and the jobs and the salaries, I guess, that they're gonna
Exactly.
be earning?
Exactly.
So the question I ask for you is,
Yeah.
we as adults,
Mhm.
we think we know it all, right?
Mhm.
We lived it. We definitely know more
Mhm.
than most.
Mhm.
But what is it that we're missing with your generation? What would your generation tell us
Yeah.
that we need to do to improve the conditions for them?
That's a great question. I think the one thing that can fix a lot of things between my generation and your generation is
Which is what?
young folks, young young adults is really just allowing our generation, people my age, a seat at the table, having a conversation. I think what the generation now is doing is they're setting it up. They're setting us up for the future,
Mhm.
but we are the future. We're the ones that in a few years are going to take control of what's being created right now. So I think just having a seat at the table, asking for our opinion, what we think, what we like, what we don't like, will set us on the way. And that's, I think, something that's missing. I know it's something that you're really big on that. So I appreciate you doing that and having me on your show and things like that.
So, Michael, do you see an opportunity here?
There
Young
is,
guy?
because he does have a seat at the table.
Mm.
And the reason you have a seat at the table, because you spoke up and you did those things that for 6 months I'm going, we got to get this guy back here again. All right.
Thank
And
you.
then I guess I saw you on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and that was a struggle enough for me to figure out, okay, all right, if I go in here and then I'm going to talk to him here, but if he doesn't do this back, and which one we're going to check, all right? So being at the table, all right, is really important,
It
all
is.
right? Because that's when you can be part of the future.
Mhm.
And there are plenty of us that say, we need some guidance, all right? And maybe some of us would say, okay, all right, soldiers, slow down a second. Let's direct that. I like your approach as far as the future and about people's lives and taking care of them. Where did that come from?
That came from my parents. I have to give it to my parents. My parents have always made an emphasis in my early on, and my sister as well. My sister is 14 right now, of service. So we would go to Missionaries of Charity every weekend in downtown, and we would serve. I was part of my church group, and we would go serve. So I'm very big on service, and my style of leadership is servant leadership. And I believe that's the best one, because if you're going to be a leader, whether it be in politics or business, whatever industry, you have to be a servant leader. I think the big misconception is that leaders, a lot of them think that people owe them something, that they're the ones that call the shots, and that they have to manage people. No, that's a manager. Managers manage, leaders lead, right? So if you're a leader, you're serving the people underneath you. At my time as president of student government, I was serving my constituents, if you will, the students of the college. So I think that's a big misconception. That's something we talk about on the podcast, the Mindset podcast. That idea of leadership today is wrong. They're confusing leadership and managing. Leadership and management are two separate things, and if they're confused, that's a deadly combination.
So who are you inspired by? What leader are you inspired by?
I'm inspired by, first and foremost, my parents, absolutely. But outside of my family, outside of my parents, I would say Dr. Padron is someone that inspires me a lot. His story is incredible. He came here with nothing, as I'm sure you've both heard his story, and he's made it. He's made it. You know, he did not have money. He did not know English. He had nothing. So that goes to show you that in this country, if you put your mind to it and you work hard, you'll accomplish anything.
So, I'm sorry.
There's the new president. I've forgotten her first name,
Madeline.
Pumariega, right?
Madeline.
Yes.
Madeline, from Hialeah, no less. No disregard to Hialeah, all right?
Yeah.
But when we grew up, it was Hialeah and then our friends down in Cutler Ridge, all right? And so everything is possible. We see that. And a lot of it is because young people look at folks like you and go, I can sort of relate to that, all right? It's not like some old guys that might be sitting around. And so you are truly inspiring some young person that's watching you right now and through your years in Miami-Dade. So tell us about your political ambitions.
Yeah. So I think this time as student government president has really opened my eyes to that servant leadership a lot more. And I've been thankfully, through my position and my role in student government, I've been able to mingle with politicians, commissioners. I've had them on the podcast as well. And I've really gotten to see firsthand what it's like to be a politician. I've got advice from them, things to do, things not to do, an inside scoop, if you will. Now with my lobbying firm internship, I'll know a lot more. But I just have a desire to work with people, to help people, because I see what they're going through. And, I don't know when the right time will be for me to run for office, for whatever position it is. But I'm really looking forward to it, and then just getting to know as much as possible. But right now, my mindset is a sponge. I'm just trying to absorb as much as possible from all kinds of sides, all kinds of opinions, whether I agree or not. I'm just trying to absorb as much as possible. So when the time comes, I'm fit, I'm ready, and I'm the most qualified for that position.
You know who comes to mind right now? Rene Garcia, our current commissioner,
Yep.
right? County Commissioner of the North. Do you know Rene
Yes,
Garcia?
of course.
Commissioner Garcia. Great guy. I worked with him in the legislature. He was a senator at the time. Sitting down to speak with him, he tells me he went into public service at 19. I mean,
wow.
I could see.
Wow.
I can see you kind of following in that footsteps.
So I want to share a story that is 100% accurate. I was at Costa Cuba years ago, and every Tuesday I would invite people. And one day, like 40 people showed up, and including now Commissioner Cava. And she said to me,
Or Mayor Cava now.
Mayor Cava, I'm sorry. There's only 3 women here. I said, Commissioner, I said, I know that. I said, and that's my orbit. And I said, I'm going to do better. And probably 3 months later, we had an event. Wilbur Bell, who happens to be African-American, was up. There were 150 people in the room, more or less. And before he started singing God Bless America, he said, this is like the armed services. I was in the Coast Guard. He said, and there was somebody from everywhere, like here. A proud moment, all right? And now Mayor Cava was sitting there. And it was hard for me to get outside my orbit because it's a natural default. So my question to you is, what's in your orbit, and what do you want to start including that's not comfortable for you today, but you hope that in 3 months or 3 years or in 30 years will be included in that?
That's a great question. And I think what we talk about on the podcast is your environment is everything. Your environment says a lot about you. The people you hang around with says a lot about you, right? There's a saying, and it's kind of funny.
Dime quién eres. Dime con quién caminas y te diré quién eres.
Exactly. Michael, did you get that?
No.
You don't speak Spanish?
No.
Michael.
I lost out.
Come on, Michael. Miguel.
Yeah,
Right?
see, I got that
Right?
part.
So the one I was going to say, that one's very well known, is, look, you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut.
I need one.
So do I. So it's fundamental that you don't have to know what you're going to do, what career, but as long as, and this is an easy thing to do today, surround yourself with people who are either better than you or who are good for you, that are as good as you. You hang around with people who are, they want to go out on the weekend and they're just not aligning with your vision, you're going to end up like one of those. So the earlier you get that, you're looking good. And of course, your environment is everything. So where are you, your home environment, etc.
So if you were going to name a couple things that creates the downfall of leaders, including politicians, what are some of the things that got out of control in their lives that caused their downfall?
There's many things, but I think if I have to pinpoint something that is a downfall for leaders, it would have to be integrity. It would have to be integrity. And what I mean by that is a lot of times leaders, the leadership position can get to their head, right? Politicians, the money, the power, the fame. When it gets to your head, that's when it becomes dangerous. And also, if you think I've made it, because then you start to settle and you don't continue to grow. So I think once you let it get to your head, it's game over. And that's what I see in a lot of politicians across the world. In the United States, it gets to their head and they think they're all that in a bag of chips. That's dangerous because then they forget where they started from. They forget their roots. They forget how hard it was growing up, what their parents had to go through. So I've pledged to myself that no matter what I do, politics, business, whatever, I'm always going to remember my roots because that's where I come from. That's who I am. So once I detach from my roots, that's going to be a very dangerous situation. And I hope to never get there because everything's going to go south from that moment on. I've seen it.
Wisdom.
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
No,
20.
how old are you really? No, man. So I'm actually happy that you're here speaking to us. I would like to keep these
Yeah.
conversations going. I think that your generation has a lot to offer. Yes, you're right. You are the future. Certainly in South Florida, where we're redefining ourselves. There's a lot going on. Certainly the desired place in the country to be at. You play a big role in where we're going to go in the future. So, any thoughts? How are we on time?
We're fine, but I did want to introduce Howard, who's right over here. He's producing the show.
Howard.
And Howard, is that microphone working over there? Why don't you tell us about where you're from and how you got your name?
Sure. Funny story. Let me get the mic on. My parents are Cuban. Both of them, they won I guess you'd call it like a lotto for them to legally come to this country. And when they got here, they found out that she was early in the pregnancy with me. And then when I was finally born, they came across a billboard for lawyers, and it said Howard on it was one of the names. My dad, I guess he was a billboard. He was like, this is what I told Michael the other day. Now my name's Howard Jimenez, so it's not like I'm fooling anybody,
So and Howard, when your folks picked that name, why did they pick that name?
I mean, I've never asked them directly, but if I had to make an assumption, it was just so that I would be more accepted into the culture, without people having that hesitation at my name. But I guess down here in Miami, it doesn't really happen too much with Hispanic.
And it might also be, it's not too bad if you're a lawyer, right? So I want to welcome Howard. This is, by the way, his third show that he's doing. All right, so thank you very much. And
Congratulations, brother.
Howard.
Yes, doing very well.
Yes,
He's going
sir.
to be with us. So if you need to reach Howard, you can give him a call over here. And we're glad that he's here. And in the meanwhile, Tommy and my brother Grant are out doing commercials at a place, which is...
I can't wait to see the lively commercial that they're going to produce now.
Yes. Grant has this thing. He goes out, Grant Miller here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And people respond to that. I've seen people go over to him, right? And years ago, we did a thing called Where's Joe? You remember that campaign? And we did it for about a year.
I'm still looking for Joe.
All right. So lots of people put together some mantra that people can follow, like Nike, just do it. All right. And O.J. Simpson thing was, if the glove don't fit, you got to quit. All right. And there are lots of little things. Yes, we can.
Right.
Barack Obama, and short little quips that people can remember. The county in the mosquito control division, you have, hey doc, you can like this. I remember it. Drain and cover. Drain your stuff and keep covered to be out of mosquitoes. So if you were going to put in a couple of words, something about you and something that you aspire for others to go along with, what short sentence might that be?
You have one life. Just one. You get one shot at this thing called life. When we all pass away, which we all will at one time, on your gravestone, it's engraved. There's three things that are engraved: the year you were born, a little dash, and then the year that you pass away. Out of those three things, the most important one there is a little dash, right? That those chapters in between the beginning and the end. So that little dash, what did you do with that little dash? You have one life. That's it. We can go home right now, and God forbid we get into an accident. You never know. So it's living not desperately, but with urgency.
Okay, shorten it up. So when somebody's listening to you, what is it?
You have one shot, one life.
Okay.
One life, live it.
Live it
To the
to the
max.
fullest. Yeah.
So one of the things that we were fortunate to do here, the dash for us recently was March 2020 to April 2021. Our dash here, because we made a decision that we weren't going to roll over, that we weren't going to close up shop, that we were going to do something.
Yeah.
Desperate times were out there, and you said, what are you going to do to stay connected? Because there was a time I said, you know what, maybe I'll just go to sleep and I'll wake up and it'll all be gone. Where's Rip Van Winkle? I said, no, we want to live this to see what we did. So the dash for us here was, you got to keep reinventing yourself. You got to keep serving the public. And we were so thrilled. And when Robert joined us, it was about a year ago, I said, we need to do something. The changes that we have helped people make and stay connected have been tremendous. In all the years I've been doing this, in my entire life, my father was involved in radio, TV, newspapers,
How many years?
forever. What?
How many years has it been since you guys started Miller Publishing?
Oh, we took over the company in 1982. My father was in the radio and TV newspaper business since the late 50s. And this is the most exciting time for us. Doing these type of things is more challenging than any story that we could write because it's typically not real interaction. It's usually asking questions and deciphering out of there, but people get to see what we can do. I can't tell you how many times over the last year we've been sitting here and the guest and me were crying about all the pressure that everybody's under, and to be able to walk people through that, myself included, that we know that we've made lives better. And I hope that you're able to do that. And one of our greatest honors is about to happen. We were interviewing somebody in the mental health arena, and she's coming in for her third interview. And she's bringing her son with her, who 10 years ago had a schizophrenic break. Wow. And I realized she trusted us enough to allow that to happen. It's really a tribute to all of us that have been able to figure out how to do this and be able to share. So I hope that you're able to help people and to achieve the goals you want and to be an example and a mentor, because there's some kids that are already looking at you say, I want that. And years ago when my son was in school, we were at some event and I kept saying to him, what do you want? What do you want? It was just a sense that I had. And he whispered it in my ear. And then I said, well, just go for it right now. And sometimes we all need a push. And he did that. And all those things that you do help build, not just you, it's your family, your friends, and the community by allowing people to do that. Sometimes people need permission. So today, and we have 5 minutes left, why don't you give some young person and some older person permission to do whatever that happens to be?
Absolutely. Like I was saying, you just have to do it. But it's harder than it sounds, right? You can say it, but it's a lot harder to do it. But my thing is, and I go back to death a lot, and people say, well, why are you being so? But it's true. It's true. We're not going to be here for too long. So what are you going to do with what you have? It's now, if you wait too long, that it might not happen. My biggest regret, to be honest with you guys, is being on my deathbed, 99 years old, God willing, and I say, I wish I would have in college. I wish I would have run for president of Miami-Dade College. I wish I would have gone to UF. I don't want to have any of that. I want to try it. I might fail. I'm sure I'm going to fail. I hope I do. But I think right now too many people are scared to fail. So that's why I say fail forward. Don't go fall backward, because you fall backward, you don't see what you're falling on. Fail forward. Take calculated risks, measures. But it's just trying. You just got to do it. Who knows? You just need to be right one time, just one time.
Yeah, you know what the most interesting and the most motivating piece of the time that we're living in right now is for me, is, as you pointed out, if we look at the internet, is developing so quickly, it's rapidly growing.
Yeah,
there's so many opportunities that are presenting themselves. 14 months ago, who would have thought that we were going to be locked down for 14 months, right? 15 months, or whatever. And here we are. We're getting ready to come out. So the most interesting thing is that who you are today and what you want to do tomorrow may not be what you're going to do in the future, because what you will become may not be currently developed, right? Think about this. When you and I were little, could we have thought of having a phone that's a computer? So yes, you're right. Keep falling. If you're going to fall forward.
Right.
Because the best days are coming, man.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. You graduated. I can't wait to see you in the next 10 years, man.
All right. Why don't you take us out?
Well, thank you, Mr. Miller.
My pleasure.
The Millers, our producer, Anthony,
Thank you.
and the community that's watching. Please continue to watch community news. Support us. We're here to provide you information, but this forum is nothing without your input. Thank you, and have a great day.
Great, guys. Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
everybody. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
having me.